Alright, so this is one of the videos that the reason why I decided to make my channel and start doing YouTube. So I could give my 2 cents, whether you give a fuck or not. You know? So while I was out of town this weekend, I went to go see Acrimony. Now let me say this from the beginning. There are 2 sets of people. You have your diehards, Tyler Perry, who it doesn't matter what he does, what he puts out, they are going to love it. They're going to stand for him, and they're going to be the first one to buy a ticket, right? Then you have your opposite end. People who hate Tyler Perry. People who think he is the destruction of all that is good in this world. You know what I mean? I used to do a radio show, and the one of the co-hosts on the radio show, shout out to Spike Lee Radio, and shout out to Spike. I said Spike Lee Radio. I'm sorry, Spike Fish Radio. Jesus, shout out to Spike Fish Radio, and shout out to Earl. Earl is one of those people, and I say it because he don't care. He puts it all over his Facebook. He don't care. If you go back and listen to old episodes of the show, he don't care. Hates Tyler Perry. So you got the love, you got the hate. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't love or hate him. I look at each of his works independently, individually, and I either like it or I don't. In my opinion, his best movie is A Family That Prays. That is my favorite movie from him. That is his best movie in my opinion. My favorite Medea movie, I think, is the one with Keisha Knight. Medea Goes to Jail. The one with Keisha Knight Pulliam. Let me just talk about Acrimony, and then I'll get into some more of my opinion. So Acrimony is his newest story. From the previews, it wasn't something I really wanted to see. Not because it was a Tyler Perry movie. It could have been Spike Lee. It could have been Steven Spielberg. But from the previews, it just wasn't a movie I was going to rush to the theater to see. I was out of town this weekend with a really good friend of mine. We went to college together. We traveled together. And we both had some vacation. And so we decided to meet up and hang out for the weekend. And we met up in Pittsburgh. That's where I went to see. I saw James while I was there. James Caldwell. He's another YouTuber. Well, y'all probably know James way more than you know me. But anyway, that's another conversation. It was great, though. But we were in Pittsburgh, and so we decided to go see Acrimony. It was out, whatever. The first hour 15 minutes of the movie, great. It was great. Taraji plays the hell out that part. Regardless of how I feel about the actual movie, Taraji played her ass off in that movie. You understand what I'm telling you? She acted her ass off in that movie. The storyline I feel like I got what Tyler was trying to give us. You know, and it's really just a woman scorned story. You know, hell have no fury like a woman scorned. And in the movie, and I'm going to put it on the tab as a spoiler alert, but in the movie, Taraji's character, they go back to they met in college. And honestly, from the time they met, Taraji showed her character showed some glimpses of crazy. Excuse me, because they bumped into each other. And Taraji's character, beat this nigga ass. Like we both bumped into each other. Both of us were not paying attention. Why I'm getting beat up. But anyway, it evolves into a romance. And the character, Taraji's character, mom dies. And in the process of her mother dying, her mother leaves her the house and leaves her $350,000. Well, the crux of the story is how this man used her and took all her money. So in the beginning when she starts telling her story, you're like, oh no, this man then took her, used her money, used her up, and then threw her away. I was getting visions of Wait and Exhale. I was getting visions of Bernadette, burning up the car. I was like, oh shit, this is what he did. That's really not what happened. Did he take money from her? Absolutely. Did he do I think that he stayed? Do I think that she didn't have the money when they first started dating, so he didn't get with her because she had the money. Do I think he stayed because of the money? Maybe. So there's a scene where he cheated on her early on, and this is before the money. He cheated on her, and she pretty much tries to kill him. She rams her car. He was staying in a motorhome, and she ran to her car into his motorhome until the car turns over, and she ends up hurting herself in the process. She hurts herself. She ends up putting herself in a situation where she can't have children. So you know that's never going to be an issue in the movie where she can't have children. My biggest problem with the movie is that, well, two big problems. The last 20 minutes, big problem. And I feel like the storylines were not fully developed enough for me to believe what you were selling. And what I mean by that is this. They kept making it seem like Taraji's character had this horrible anger issue. Like when she tried to kill the boy for cheating on her. Which, yeah, that was an anger issue. That's not my point, though. Her sisters were like, you just can't keep doing this. You just can't keep doing this. And Taraji's character keeps talking about the other side of me. And, there's just something about when I get mad, I just can't stop myself. But they only give us that one example. So to me, and don't get me wrong, that's an extreme example. But a lot of women have done some crazy shit when they find out their boyfriend is cheating on them. That doesn't mean that they're crazy. That doesn't mean that they have an anger issue. It just means that in that moment, they lost it. And that's how I took that. I took that as, I take that back. That was after the money because she had just bought him the car. I take that back. She bought him the car and then he started acting funny. And that's when she found out he was cheating on her. So I take that back. It was after the money. But, again, they kept alluding to her having this history of anger and this history of problems. But that's the only example they gave us to the end of the movie. So that, for me, fell a little flat. Fast forward, the husband ain't shit. He won't work. He won't get a job. Taraji, the money runs out. They lose the house. Taraji working 2 and 3 jobs just to keep them afloat. And he has this dream of, he has this battery he's been working on, and he's been trying to get on with this company. And he was like, if I could just get on with this company, it'll be the answer to all of our prayers. And Taraji, and for a long time, Taraji played along. Like, I think she stopped believing in him very early, but she played along. And was like, okay, baby. All right, baby. Okay. And they talk about how they were in this loveless marriage where they were just kind of going day to day and just coexisting. And they were married for almost 20 years. I believe 18 years. They went through the motions. They just went through the motions, and he didn't work and worked on this battery or worked odd jobs. And she was out working 2 and 3 jobs to keep the bills paid. And he spent up all the inheritance on this dream. And he had talked her into mortgaging the house, and they lost the house. And so it ended up being a perfect storm of events. He starts working for her sisters who don't like his ass, obviously. Sisters started a trucking company. And to me, this wasn't fully fleshed out either. The whole, we need to make these deliveries in order to save our business. So it was a situation where they had to make these deliveries, and they trusted him. Why they trusted him, I don't know, but they did. But they were like, this is the only way we're going to get the money to save the house, to save mama's house. So you got to make these deliveries on time every day for the next 6 months or whatever. So you already knew that was a setup. You knew something was going to happen with that bullshit. The sister finds the wallet from another woman in his truck and calls Taraji. So Taraji thinks he's cheating on her. At the same time, he's supposed to make this delivery. All this happened on the same day. Now, the gag is the woman is the same woman she caught him cheating on her with way back in the day, that she almost tried to kill and kicked over the RV with her truck. It's the same woman. Well, this woman happens to work at the company that he's been trying to get on with. And she calls him and says, look, I got you a meeting. They want to see your prototype. They want to meet with you. They're interested in this battery that you've been trying to sell for 20 years. And to the point where they had security saying he couldn't come to that office no more. They thought this man was crazy. Again, not fully fleshed out to me, because how they go from thinking he crazy to wanting to ban him from the premises to all of a sudden now want to meet with him and going to offer him all this money for his product. Anyway, the other question that wasn't answered for me was the woman who he cheated on with, that all of a sudden is going to help him out, left her wallet. The question is, did she do it by accident or on purpose? Because you allude to the fact that it was done on purpose. So all this happens in one day. It's a perfect storm. He ends up not making a delivery. He goes to his meeting. On his way out the door to go to the meeting, Taraji shows up and confronts him about him cheating on her. Confronts him about the wallet. She's like, "This the same bitch you cheated on me with. You've been cheating on me all this time." And he's like, "No, I haven't. I've been faithful to you. But baby, this is it. This is the moment. They called me. They want to see the prototype. I'm on my way up there now." He's got on his suit. He got the prototype in his hand and all of that. And I get it. You ain't trying to hear all that shit. It's been 18 years of false promises. I get it. But that was, I guess I feel like that would have been an elaborate ass lie, you know. He could have handled the delivery situation better, but he didn't. You know, because it's supposed to be this perfect storm. So he goes to the meeting. They offer him they offer him $800,000, but they want all of his property, all his intellectual property, all his notes, everything. And to his credit, he was like, "Nah, that ain't a good deal. Like, I'm desperate. I'm broke. I probably just lost my wife. But I know that what I've done is worth more than what you're offering me. And I'm not that desperate. Like, yes, I've been trying to get on for 20 years. Yes, I've been trying to get this opportunity. But I know that this works. This battery works. It's like a self-energizing battery or something like that. This battery works. And if you're able to sell it, you're going to make millions. Billions even. And it's not worth 800. It's worth, it's $800,000. It's a drop in the bucket. So he tells them no and he walks away. And the girl is like, "Are you crazy? Like, I set this meeting up. You got me." And he was like, "No." He was like, "I'm sorry. I appreciate all that you did for me. But I know my worth." Lesson learned. I know my worth. To me, that's the best part of the movie. But anyway. So he goes back to the house, of course, Taraji and all her sisters and husbands sitting around. They like, "You made us lose the company. You made us lose the business. How could you do this to us? And then you cheated on her." And Taraji sitting there. She got all his stuff in the pile. And she's smoking a cigarette. And like I said, she played that part. Her ass, all the deranged was right here. Like, it was, And, they have their confrontation. Now, that's worth the price of admission to see her in that role, to see her playing that part, because she played crazy. Ooh, she played crazy. And she puts him out and he leaves. And so it shows how she ends up losing the house, having to move in with her sister. He's in a homeless shelter. He finally gets a job, which he should have been doing all along, but he's a dishwasher, and she starts dating her ex-boyfriend, the guy she dated before she met him 20 years before. You know how that go. And that's the guy her family wanted her with all along. He had the right pedigree. You know what I'm saying? And the woman that works for the company that had hooked him up found out he was in a shelter and was like, "Look, you need to come and stay." Because she's like, "We've been trying to get in touch with you. What's up?" And he was like, "Kind of in between places. Lost my cell phone." Really, his cell phone got stolen. They stole it at the shelter. And they came back to the table. They came back to the table with an offer that was worth that was worth him. That was worthy. And with that, he moved in with the chick. I mean, they got the whole scene where she runs him a bath and all that good stuff. And he makes the deal. And the deal was for something like, I think they paid him, I don't remember the exact amount, let's say $75 million, plus he got to keep his intellectual property, meaning he was going to make money off of this thing for the rest of his life, basically. He was set. So it shows him show up at Taraji's job. And of course she's like, "What the fuck you want? We ain't never getting back together. Why you here?" And he's looking good in this suit and got the flowers. She's like, "What, you done borrowed a suit from somebody to try to impress me?" And he was like, "I just need 10 minutes of your time." She was like, "You got 2. She doing the whole. And so he was like, look, he gives her the flowers. He gives her a card. And inside the card is a check for $10 million. And he said, "I know, basically, I'm sorry. You always believed in me." He was like, "It hit. I finally got my payday that I've been promising you." And I mean, throughout the movie, he promises her they're going to live in this penthouse, and he's going to buy her a boat, and he's going to name the boat Mrs. Gale, because that's his last name. And when he marries her, and when he proposed to her, he proposed to her with them little candy rings, and he's going to give her the diamond. I mean, he made all these promises. when he sold his battery. So he gives her the, now mind you, the divorce is final. Even at the divorce proceeding, he was like, I love you. I never cheated on you. I still love you. All I want is for you to believe in me again. You know, he gives her this whole speech and he's crying and she just like, sign the paper. But you could tell she still loved him. But she got her sister in her ear and she got her little feelings hurt and she think he cheated. She really thinks he cheated on her. Which, again, I ain't saying I wouldn't have believed it either. She said they hadn't been having sex and I'm not saying I wouldn't have believed it either. But he gave you $10 million, free and clear. Here you go. And he gave her the keys back to the house. He bought the house back from whoever the owners were when the bank foreclosed. He gave her mother's house back. He gave her $10 million. And he apologized. And, it's like, what more can I do? I'm sorry. I know I wasn't the best husband. I know, but thank you for sticking with me all those years, and thank you. Okay. Well, now you know. This is where the shit go left, right? Taraji goes home that night. She drops a check in her sister's lap. She tells him, she tells him what happened. She was like, and I listened to your dumb ass and left his ass right before his ass got the payday that I've been struggling for the last 20 years. Now she wants him back. And I don't think she wants him back just for the money. I think she wants him back because she's like, because with the money, he gave her money. Shit, $10 million, you got your house back. Like, you got your money. But I do think she loved him, and I do think she got caught up in the hurt of the 18 years and everything else. So, anyway, the movie goes on from there. And that's where you start seeing the real crazy. Because in her mind now, the woman, she shows up at the house that night. Well, not that night, but she shows up at the house, and he bought the penthouse that he kept showing her he was gonna buy, and she said, "You always said you were going." She said, "You did it. You did it. You always said you were gonna buy us, buy us this apartment, and we were gonna And in her mind, she thinks she could just show up and get back. And you can see he's uncomfortable. Like, he wasn't trying to be rude to her, but at the same time, he was kind of like, "What you doing here? Like, why are you here?" And Taraji got the trench coat on, so you already know something up underneath that trench coat. When a woman show up at your door, when a woman show up at your door with a trench coat, there's something underneath it. I'm just going to tell you now. She opens it up, and she's got the lingerie on, and she was about to get her man back. You hear me? Well, old girl comes from the back room. Hey, how are you? And he says, "This is my ex-wife," and he says, "and this is my fiance." And the chick holds out her hand with the big ass rock on it. And she did it just for show because she held out the wrong hand, bitch. And she said, "Nice to meet you." With the big ass rock on it. Well, that's what set Taraji off. So for the rest of the movie, she crazy. They had to get a restraining order. They made her go to court counseling. And she's telling her story to the counselor. That's what this whole movie is. She's telling her story to the counselor. And the counselor, gets to the point, the counselor was like, basically the counselor was trying to tell her, do you really think he was that horrible of a person? Like, it doesn't sound like he was a bad guy. It sounds like shit just happened the way it happened. But it doesn't sound like he purposely tried to dog you or treat you badly. And Taraji was like, "Are you listening to me? Have you been listening? You just like everybody else trying to make me out to be the crazy one, and he did this and he did that, da 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 da." Well, he getting ready to marry the chick. And Taraji's family, her best friend, everybody worried about Taraji gonna do something crazy. They try to keep her in the house. She sneaks out the house. They end up getting married and getting on the his yacht. I'm sorry, the yacht that he named Mrs. Gale, the one he promised Taraji. Yeah, he bought the yacht. And Taraji has been stalking this woman. Like, she really has gone crazy. She's been stalking her, sending her all sorts of threats on social media and all kinds of crazy stuff. And like I said, they have a restraining order against her. And her family told him, "You need security. She's crazy. She coming for you. You need to get some security. You need to, for your wedding, you need to." This is where the movie lost me. Like I said, it was a decent movie, and had it ended a different way, I probably would be okay with it. But this is where the movie lost me. The last 15 minutes. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'm giving y'all a lot of spoilers. But I'm going to let y'all see it for yourself. And you tell me how you feel. Drop it in them comments. And you tell me how you really feel. But the last 15 minutes is where they lost. And then the way it ended, I said, what the fuck? Tyler, what the fuck? So, overall, if the movie had ended 20 minutes earlier, I probably would have given it a C plus B minus. But because of the last 15, 20 minutes and the way it ended, I got to give it an F. I got to give it an F because I came out of there mad. I did. I came out of that movie mad. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You just, no. No. Tyler, no. Now, on my Facebook, because I posted what I felt about it on my Facebook, you had people talking about how wonderful the movie was. And they loved it, and they don't know what's wrong with me because they thought it was great. So, there are people, like I said, you got the people over here, and you got the people over here. I'm somewhere in the middle. Had it been 20 minutes before the ending, it got to be a B minus C plus. A for Taraji, though. A for Taraji. But because of the way it ended in them last 20 minutes, F. Fail! You fail! Y'all tell me what y'all think, though. You might be able to convince me differently. I ain't gonna tell y'all the ending. Go see it. You tell me what you think.